Time now for an in-depth look at the market news this afternoon, and for that I'm joined on the line by Mr. Daniel Yu, Global Strategist at Yuanta Securities. Mr. Yu, good afternoon. Thank you as always for coming on. We're joined by Mr. Daniel Yu. Are you there, Mr. Yu? All right, looks like we lost the connection there.
Yeah, hello. Yes,
I'm here. Waiting for this to get that back online. Mr. Yu, have we recovered our connection?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, very good. Well, let's start with stocks on Wall Street. A moderate gain overnight for the Dow and the S&P, but a decline for the Nasdaq. Investors, of course, are waiting to see what the Federal Reserve decides to do this Wednesday. Hard to say which way we're going here. What's the story in the global markets?
Yes, if you look at the U.S. market, it's pretty much been quite weak in a sense because we're waiting for the Fed rate hike. It is expected to be done on the Wednesday. A lot of people are expecting that rate hike to be about 75 basis points. It is continued to be a giant step. And of course, because of this, people are concerned about the overall economic possible recession. Because of the high inflation numbers, people are quite uncertain about how the Fed will be aggressively raising interest rate, resulting into maybe accepting the possibility of recession happening faster than expected. All in all, we've seen Dow pretty much flat in terms of the futures market, and most of the markets are pretty much in a pretty much flat numbers. All in all, the earnings versus the macroeconomic pictures are basically fighting each other. The earnings numbers that are coming out so far seems to be quite positive, that about 2/3 of the earnings coming in at better than expected in terms of the EPS and also in terms of the sales. So the earnings are coming in better, but a lot of people are uncertain about the economic recession possibilities. We are seeing the long-term to short-term interest rate differentials coming down to close to zero territories between 10-year minus 3 month. Already the 10-year minus 2 years are at negative territories. So people are quite uncertain about what's happening to the economic pictures in a longer term basis.
Well, it looks like a similar story here in Korea. The stock market seemed to take its cue from Wall Street this morning. Bit of a shaky start in the morning, moving to positive territory, though, shortly after. Not much of a clear direction. Some consumer-related shares doing okay. Tell us about the domestic market.
Yes, as you said, pretty much the Korean market's flat. If you look at KOSPI, it's up by about 0.4%. It has recovered slightly better than the beginning of the market. As far as the cost stack is concerned, it was pretty much flat, rising by 0.03%, so pretty much flat. If you look at the foreign investors, they're probably waiting to see some kind of direction. We saw not much movement by the foreigners. They really didn't buy much of the KOSPI or KOSDAQ or selling for that matter. But in terms of the futures market, they did buy about 300 billion won worth of futures market. So at least they're thinking that the market is not going to fall, but maybe in some positive direction once the Fed rate hike actually happens. In terms of the retail investors, they also seems to be quite weak in terms of the net purchasings. They were selling by about 47 billion won, and also of the KOSPI, buying KOSDAQ of about 67 billion, and the futures market are selling about 250 billion or so. So overall, it seems that there isn't really much directions per se. We need to see what happens to the currency as well. We've seen the Korean won hitting about 1320, has fallen down to 1310 or below, but still nevertheless it's well above 1300. We need to see that direction going down to below 1300, maybe going down to 1250 to see possibility the foreign investors coming back aggressively. Without that, we think the market direction will be probably uncertain for the next a few months.
Right. Well, the Federal Reserve's decision seems to outweigh a lot of things this week, but data show economic growth in Korea picked up in the second quarter. On-quarter growth rate of 0.7%, slightly faster than the quarter before. Exports have slowed down a little bit, but that was made up for by consumer spending coming back. What do you see happening in the Korean economy?
Yes, if you look at the South Korean economy, it expanded 0.7% Q on Q from in the 3 months to June, which is beating the expectation for which was about 0.4% growth. It is accelerating from 0.6% increase in the previous quarter. This was pretty much lifted by the strong private consumption amid the relaxation of COVID-19 restrictions. Private consumption was up by 3% as the expenditures on semi-durable goods, including the clothing and footwear, and also services were basically showing quite a bit of increases. Also, the government consumption rose by 1.1% with increases in expenditures on Social Security benefits in kind. Also, construction investment grew by about 0.6%. All in all, it seems that the overall market seems to be in overall economic numbers seems to be quite decent. But in terms of the direction, we need to wait and see what happens to the export numbers because a lot of people are expecting that global economic slowdown is expected going into next year. If that happens, Korea having high dependency on export, we might see the overall growth numbers coming down a bit. Also, we have seen quite a bit of an interest rate hike, and therefore that will have a negative implication for the consumption numbers in a longer term. All in all, I think that economic growth-wise, it will be in a decent numbers, but it's not going to be quite aggressive. I think that all the leading indicators are showing some declining, so therefore we are expecting the economy might be doing a pretty timid level of growth rate, and that will result into the interest rate hike to be more further stabilized in a longer-term basis.
All right, we'll keep an eye on it. And markets-wise, see what the Fed decides to do on Wednesday, 75 basis points or 100. We'll see, and catch up later this week. Thank you, as always, for coming on, Mr. Yu. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.